After the fence fiasco, I thought the HOA might finally relent. I was wrong. Their next act of audacity involved filling my creek with concrete, ostensibly to prevent erosion and maintain aesthetic standards. In reality, it was yet another attempt to assert control over my property and undermine my land management. When I arrived at the site, the scene was astonishing. Gray concrete flowing along the creek bed, bulldozers clanking, and Karen herself directing workers with her clipboard, her arrogance radiating like a storm cloud. At first glance, the creek looked like it had been permanently ruined. Water flow was halted, wildlife scattered, and the once lively banks were coated in drying concrete. Karen smirked as if she had finally won, clearly unaware that she had walked directly into a trap of her own making. I calmly observed the area, noting the structural changes the HOA had imposed, and smiled quietly. They had no idea that my property was far more resilient and far more cunning than they could comprehend. I had anticipated such attempts years ago. Beneath the creek, I had installed a network of underground channels, emergency sluices, and diversion pathways. The concrete could temporarily block the surface, but it could not stop the water from flowing where I wanted it. As the workers finished their restoration, I activated the hidden sluices. Water surged from underground channels, overflowing the concrete, reclaiming its natural path, and in a matter of minutes, the creek was alive again, gushing fiercely toward the HOA's poorly designed streets. Karen screamed in disbelief as the water cascaded beyond the boundaries of my property. Streets quickly turned into swamps, yards flooded, and the HOA's homes, built without proper drainage, began to experience water intrusion. Panic ensued. The same arrogance that had led them to fill my creek with concrete now placed them directly in the path of the consequences they had invited. Every miscalculation they had made over the years compounded into one spectacular moment of poetic justice. I documented the entire event meticulously. Photographs, drone footage, and videos of the water reclaiming its course were stored for both legal and strategic purposes. Any claims the HOA might have made about damaging property were preemptively nullified by the fact that the creek had been altered on my land, with only my interventions controlling the flow and preventing harm to life. The flooding they experienced was a direct result of their own negligence and ignorance. Neighbors watched in awe, some cautiously from their elevated homes, others documenting the spectacle on social media. Karen attempted to maintain her composure, shouting at the workers, but the humiliation was complete. Their plan to control my property had backfired spectacularly, leaving them soaked, flustered, and entirely powerless in the face of my foresight. I didn't stop there. I reinforced the creek banks, improved the diversion channels, and installed additional measures to prevent future interference. The concrete that the HOA had poured became irrelevant, a minor obstacle that had been neutralized effortlessly by preparation, engineering, and understanding of the land. Karen and her board learned a critical lesson. Interference with property is dangerous when the owner has planned for every eventuality. By evening, I walked along the banks, the creek flowing naturally once more, fish returning to the water, and wildlife cautiously venturing back. The HOA neighborhood remained partially flooded, a testament to the consequences of arrogance, ignorance, and overreach. Karen had underestimated me once again, thinking she could control nature and property with concrete and bureaucracy. Standing quietly by the flowing water, I reflected on the repeated pattern. Each attack, each attempt to assert control, had been met with strategy, foresight, and calculated consequences. The creek was more than water. It was a symbol of resilience, authority, and mastery over my land. Karen's attempts to manipulate, intimidate, or interfere had only strengthened my position. My property was untouchable, my resources controlled, and my response decisive. That night, the water glistened in the moonlight, the sound of rushing currents a reminder that preparation always wins over arrogance, and that those who underestimate me do so at their own peril. Karen and the HOA had learned, again, the hard way that meddling with someone who is ready for anything results in nothing short of disaster for the instigators.